This is Alhambra Investments Question Time, where CEO Joe Calhoun answers your questions. Steve Brennan, what's the question today?
Well, this is one we talk about a fair amount lately, actually. The outlook for interest rate cuts. And I want to just start this off by asking Joe, what are expectations for Fed rate cuts right now?
It's interesting that you say rate cuts. And I think that is what everyone is expecting. And it's probably what's going to happen, but we should probably term it more, what do we expect from the Fed, up or down, and not picking one. But that's okay. There is some expectation for a rate cut this year. Coming into this year, there was a high expectation for multiple rate cuts, as many as 4 or 5. But the economy's been fairly resilient, as we've talked about many times, and we think we have a good idea of why. It's about income, it's about assets and savings and so forth. But we won't get into that too much. But yeah, there is an expectation for really about 1 rate cut this year, and we've got a couple of different ways that we do that, the way we track that. So I guess I can just go through those things now. And I'll show you where we get this. I guess in general, where this comes from is what's called the SOFR market, the futures market for what's called the secured overnight financing rate. That's the replacement for what used to be called LIBOR, which was the London Interbank Offered Rate. And all it is a short-term interest rate. And those short-term interest rates are essentially, they're not set by the Fed, but they're certainly guided by the Fed setting the Fed funds rate. And it is a more pertinent financing rate because the Fed funds market is almost non-existent these days. There's a rate set there, but there's almost no borrowing in that market. So the SOFR market is a little bit different, a little more active. So where do we go to find this stuff? And I guess I should say a little bit about how you get there. What you're looking at is you're looking at futures prices, and you're looking at where does the market believe rates are going to be in June, July, August, December. And then you can calculate some probabilities. Now, back in the old days, you used to have an HP calculator, and you had to do that yourself. Today, the Atlanta Fed has a place to do it, and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange does it for you, so you don't have to be as up on that stuff. But I'm gonna go now and show you the Atlanta Fed. This is the Atlanta Federal Reserve's website, and this is they call it the Market Probability Tracker. I'm going to scroll down so you can see this. And so what this shows here, the expected 3-month average SOFR path. So what you can do is you mouse over it and you can see this says June of 2024. Go over it says September and then December, and it goes all the way out here to December of 2026, which I can tell you right now, that's just somebody's wild guess because nobody knows what the hell rates are going to be out that far. And in fact, all of these things really don't tell you a whole lot except what's going to happen over the next couple of months. But if we go and look right here, this is the December expectation, and the expected number is, and it's done in basis points, so it's 500 basis points or 5%. Now, the Fed funds rate has a target range right now of 5.25 to 5.5. So if they're expecting the rate to be 5, that implies 1 to 2 rate cuts by the end of the year. And I say that because the range, because it also gives a range, this blue coloring around there gives you the range. The range is 4.81 to 5.34, which implies roughly 4.75 to 5.25. So you could be 2 cuts and you're at 4.75 to 5, or it could be 1 cut and you're 5 to 5.25. So that's one way we look at this. And this also gives you probabilities for what happens in any given month. This is the probability in June, which shows that the rates are unchanged, like a 90% probability that rates are unchanged. Okay, so that's the first one, the Atlanta Fed's website, and it's just atlantafed.org, and then you're going to have to search from there, or maybe we'll put up the links. So that's the first one. Let's go and look at now the Chicago Mercantile Exchange website. So this one is, again, the SOFR futures market. And you can look at each month. So in this month, this is for the June Fed meeting. Any month there's a Fed meeting, they have a probability up. So for June, the expectation is basically 99% that it's going to be unchanged, that they're not going to change rates. And there's a 1.1% chance that they're going to hike rates by 0.25%. I'd say that's unlikely, but you never know. It does happen. Then if you go to July, that probability of keeping rates the same drops a little bit, but it's still 87%. Now, these 2 months, June and July, these are the ones that are most likely to be accurate when you look at these things because they're near term. You can't tell much further out than that. But if we now go out to December, we see that the probabilities change. And now the probability of rates being the same is only 16.4%, whereas it's a 40% chance of it going down a quarter to 5 to 5 and a quarter, and a 32.7% chance of it going to 4.75 to 5. That's basically, excuse me, the same information that you got from the Atlanta Fed. And there's a reason for that. They're doing the calculation the same way. This is not different for the Atlanta Fed or the CME. It's the same thing. So that's what we look at when we try to figure out what the Fed is going to do. And it's a pretty good approximation.
So if you would like Joe to answer your questions, put them in the comments section below and look for them in a future video.